When you choosing the wood, better to choose correct size.
Yeah.
Otherwise ending with like this.
Yeah. Or when you leave the bolt that is easy to get to. The last bolt. With the new ones, always going to come with a thin coat of grease on top of it. Just prevent the corrosion. So you must wash it off. Yeah, don't wash it with water, it has to be washed with brake cleaners. You can buy them in the spray cans, or 5 litre or 20 litre, or whatever quantity you want to buy them. And on them it's actually written TM side, which is transmission side. Sometimes they'll have a, so that's in neutral. Means that this shaft can go up and down. If it's in here, it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. Because when it's in neutral, that means that that shaft can move freely. You know, so I mean, it's
WD-40.
It's probably better to just
put grease,
put a little bit of grease.
Next time it's easy.
Yeah, it starts to corrode things and. But I can still check the clutch, make sure it's all working now fine without, yeah, the pedal feels good. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing. And yeah, today we've got a Kia Sportage 2017 as it happens, and we've got a slipping clutch. So today I'll be doing a clutch. So you can see I've opened the bonnet already. Gonna have to remove all of that, just get it out of the way, so we've got lots of room to get to the gearbox itself. Right, off just in case. It's out. This off as well. Intake air hose, pull the clips out. I'm gonna try to leave the battery alone. Yeah, but the airbox is definitely needs to come out. There's got a 10mm bolt there. That's airbox, air filter box. Now we can actually see the gearbox. Yeah, so because we need to get to this mount and the battery is not actually on the way, so I'll leave the battery alone. Unplug the reverse switch. Undo the gear cables. Pull them clips out. It's the same one here. Let's undo this bracket. Little 10mm bolt, just to take the bracket off. Now I'll undo the gear cable bracket as well. They're 12mm. Korean cars do like to have all their 12mm and 14mm. Not like Germans, all this is 13mm. By undoing this bracket, you don't have to worry how to take the gear cables off this bracket, because they're not always that straightforward. Not always easy at all. You know, sometimes when you pull the gear cables out, you damage this little, like a sleeve springs. You just tuck them out of the way. And that's your gear cables out of the way. Tuck this a bit up as well. Now we've got this bracket here as well, and we've got another 12mm. Another bolt out. That's another bracket out of the way. You can't pull it out and get it out of the way completely, or you can just tuck it out of the way, but then it will be on your way every time you try to move the gearbox. It will just fall down and go on, then it's just going to be under your feet all the time. That difficult to remove, I mean, but they're a lot easier to put on. You just clip them in, and that's it. And now we can remove the top bell housing bolt. 14mm, as I thought it would be. They're the same length, which is quite handy. In certain cars, every bolt on the bell housing is different. You have to lay them out in a certain order so you can go into the right order. You do the starter motor as well. Obviously, starter motor bolts a bit longer. I need to undo the clutch master cylinder bolt, because that's on the way slightly. You can see it's mainly, you've got a 10mm, 12mm and 14mm sockets mainly so far. Everything is on the way. Let's see this span. Obviously in these vehicles you've got external clutch slave cylinder. That means that you don't have to disconnect the hydraulic system, and that means you don't have to bleed it after the job. It makes everything so much quicker and easier because of that. Might as well undo this cylinder. You'll probably have a 12mm bolts there as well. I mean, it's probably easier to undo that from underneath, but we'll see. You can feel them, can't see them from on the top, but you can still get to there. There's two there. Now it's undone because it all becomes floppy and loose all of a sudden. Right, I'd like to undo this wiring harness out of the way. Nice and simple. And just tuck the whole cylinder in the corner out of the way. You don't have to bleed it, but now do not press the clutch pedal now, because if you press it, that will just pop out. It will shoot out and all the fluid is gonna go all over the floor. So you don't want that. So now I've got a bit of a better access to this starter motor bolt. Finish getting it out. That's it. That's out. Two starter motor bolts. Starter is all loose. We'll leave it alone where it is. There's another something here. Can't really see where it is and where. Feel the bolt. I'm not sure if it's a crankshaft position sensor or what. I can't really see it yet. I must say, some bolts you can't see, but you can feel them. Oh, it's just a bracket. Just a bracket. He's bolted to the bell housing, so obviously it needs to come off. So So that's the top bit all undone. Now we can jack the car up and put in the axle stands. Obviously I didn't disconnect the battery. I know the people always say you have to disconnect the negative terminal and all that lot, but I'm not touching the starter motor. It's tucked in out of the way. All the power leads still going to the starter motor, so I'm not going to be interfering with it, so I'm not going to make any short circuits. But then by not disconnecting, and I'm not going to lose any radio code, I'm not going to lose the clock, so it's a little shortcut. But obviously you do as you feel comfortable. You can disconnect the earth terminal and disable the vehicle and to make it all safer for yourselves. Locking wheel nut key, very helpful to take the wheels off. Right, now I can jack it up. I'll take the wheel off first so I can get to the axle stand properly. I like to put the wheels under the car in case something else fails.
You don't want to go with the box?
Pretty much not.
No, only just wet your pants.
That's it, pretty much. So now I can drop that on the axle stand. It's out of the way. I'll jack the other side. Should be high enough. Now I need to remove the undershield and a bit of this wheel arch. Well, the wheel arch literally just good little clips that pretty much finger tight. Some of them. Anyway, but I'll do the under tray first. Rusty bolts. Another one of them. Plastic nuts. They don't want to come out either. Sometimes you have to go and improvise, especially when the thing's round off. Let's see. And it comes out. Now, them clip-on captive nuts or thing, but they only clip to your plastic, and if that rusts off, the whole assembly starts spinning, ripping everything apart on its wake. But it's out. Sometimes the wheel arches get so dirty you can't see. Because it's flexible, I'll just tuck it out of the way. I don't have to remove it completely. There's plenty of room now to get to the gearbox. The next step, I need to drain the gear oil. There's a gear oil draining plug just there. I need to put an empty container. What I normally do, I get 5-litre oil can from the oil. Just cut the lid out and literally use that as a pan, so it's cheap and free, basically. 17mm. While it's draining, I can remove some other bits. 32mm. So it's nice when they're moving. It means that we don't have to bash them out. Sometimes they seize up and they have to use some sort of a copper hammer, or you can actually put a puller and press it in. And sometimes you have to press it in while you're bashing it in. Sometimes they get so tight on certain vehicles that you can't even remove them physically. Now we've got a couple of options. You can undo them 2 bolts and move that whole assembly, all that knuckle assembly forward, or you can undo the ball joint and move this way. So this, you know, wherever you like. I might undo the ball joint myself. Generally I like to undo them, but some of them, they're actually adjustable, and when they're adjustable you can adjust your camber, and then it's just extra expense. Then you have to go on to do your tracking again, and it just costs more money. Just normal 17mm nuts. Right. This one's got a circlip into the gearbox, so that needs to be pried off. Well, that's enough drizzling there, so let's put the plug back in. Best way of collecting the oil, that means that you can put that same oil back in without measuring it or anything, because you've not lost anything. But if you get new oil, you need to put exact right amount. In some vehicles you don't have a level, so you can't even, you know, fill up through the hole where the level is. You have to fill it through the top, and then you have to measure it exact amount. So pull the chisel and just one little tap. It's one out. Do the same on the other side. It's moving as well. That's good. And same with this drive shaft. This drive shaft is just longer, but it's exactly the same. That's it. That's out as well. I can undo this, 4 bolts. No, I can't get to that one, so I'm gonna have to undo that one then, and undo them. So the torque restrictor can come out, a lower gearbox mount, whatever you want to call it. Same thing,
Different name.
different name, whatever your preference is. Is 17mm. That's out. I think they're 14mm. Yeah, we're lucky, they all come undone. Sometimes they can seize up. Right, put them to the side. It's out of the way, so I don't really need to take this bracket off any longer. It's out of my way. So I undo is the rear bell housing bolts.
How many there?
Try to see. So one here is 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So we'll make sure we've got left one here, so we don't want to undo all of them, otherwise the whole gearbox starts falling apart. So don't want to do that yet. So I'll undo all 4 of them. You can't leave one top one in first, you know, but you know,
You prefer to leave it bottom one?
yeah, you can do either way. So that can just come out.
All 14?
Yeah, all 14 mil. And I have that feeling, all the same size as well. Right, some of them have a worse access, but I like to keep the bolts separate, like, you know, the top ones at the top, the bottom ones at the bottom.
Never mix up.
Yeah, just in case if they are wrong, different sizes rather. Yeah, all the same for now. The top one is hard to get to because it's behind the bracket. It's easy with a spanner, or just put long extension and you can get to it from the back. Right. So now we only got that one bolt left on the bell housing. That means we can jack up the engine now. Wooden block. I'll unplug that just in case. I don't want to get that damaged. Wooden block here. I'll jack it up straight under the engine. It's aluminium, so I don't really want to jack up straight onto it. I don't want that cracked, because that's causing a, you know, it can cause a big problem. Obviously, if you've got the engine brace, you can use engine brace. I hold the engine from the top. I found that it's a lot bulkier and harder to use. Jack is so much quicker and easier. Look at that.
Exactly size. Spot on.
Nice for the job. Right, now we need to remove this last earth strap. That will be the last bit to be unbolted.
That's earth wire, no?
Earth wire, yeah. You can see it's very, you know, it's
Fragile.
fragile. Well, yeah, it's corroded slightly. It's a copper wire. It's 12 mil. Pull back in. Too many bolts as it is, so leave that in the hole. So know which one goes there. And now we're prepared to undo the bolts from the top. It might be one at the back. Can't really see.
Homemade.
Improvise. Yeah, one at the back. Don't see where they're all undone because the whole assembly just moves all of a sudden. We might not need to take that off.
Leave it as should be.
Leave it as it is, because once we drop the engine down, whole gearbox engine hole gonna lower down a bit and might just clear that. If it doesn't, then obviously we'll have to take it off, but I don't like to take too many bits off. It's
And
just
too much work.
Too much work for no reason. We'll try as it is. Drop the engine down gently. So you do need to have a good jack if you're doing it on a jack. If you use an engine brace, then you have to brace it against something here and against there somewhere, but there's a headlamps on the way. You don't want to rest on them. You don't want to rest on the plastic bits, and it's not really. Yeah, it becomes unnecessary grief. When with the jack, you just jack it up, done. And you can see it's cleared just about. You know, if need be, I can drop it down a bit more. And all we've got left, holding the whole assembly on, is just one bolt. One bell housing bolt. Need to get this out and the box can come out. Made myself a grief by putting this block of wood this way. But no mind.
When you choosing the wood, better to choose correct size.
Yeah,
Otherwise ending with like this
Yeah.
things.
Or when you leave the bolt that is easy to get to. The last bolt. And that's it. It's out. Oh, the last bolt is actually the long one. So it's actually different size, but it's got the dowel there. So
That's why.
So I'm putting that separately. And now you've got several options. You can put another jack under there with some sort of a cradle, or you can have a transmission jack. Obviously on the ramp it's a lot easier, but I just use my knees.
And you are using your experience.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Any advice for the new workers like this doing?
If it drops on your head, it will kill you.
That's it.
That's the advice. Yeah, I put my knee under there, wiggle it, because the gearbox isn't really that heavy, but I just literally lift it off just like that. But they're not heavy, but if you don't know, use a jack of some sort.
Yeah. Sometimes might be heavy.
Yeah, depends, you know, some people are slightly weaker than the others. I don't know, I don't consider myself a strong person, so I can take it off.
But you are doing from experience, no?
Yeah.
How many years you are doing like this thing?
Oh, well over 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that way all this time. I found it quicker than on the ramp. I've done it on the ramp, but on the ramp you need about 3 people lifting it. And up here I can do it all by myself, in and out. Obviously taking it out is easier because gravity is on your side. When you're putting it back, you have to lift it.
You need a bit stronger.
Yeah, so that's why I use my knees to lift it up. So if you use your knee pads of some sort, everything becomes so much easier.
Tiny tactic.
Yeah. And now we're ready to take, well, I took the bearing out. It just literally slips out. We can take that whole fork out because we can put some grease behind it. To do that, you've got little springs up there. I mean, there's a spring behind there that clamps around it, but you can just work around it. You see, it's like spreading that way. So sometimes you can just push it in and loosen the springs out of this holster, and that it falls out basically. And putting it on, it's easy. It clips
Just
on.
slide in.
Yeah. You need to inspect the condition of this little, mount, because I've had it before would actually break up completely. Not on these vehicles, but VWs. Definitely have seen them snap completely. So you'll need a new one. But if you don't, but this one is quite good condition, all lubricated nicely. So, and now we can undo the clutch. Sometimes they don't come out, so you have to pry them off. And that's what your clutch looks like. See, them grooves, they're supposed to be quite deep. Up here they're still not too bad, but this, like, you can virtually can't see the grooves. And some grooves completely gone. And I mean, this one is not as bad as I've seen it before, but then you get the clutch wear all the way to the rivets, so that's not too bad either. I mean, you can see it's been slipping because the color of the pressure plate, but it doesn't matter. You get new pressure plate and the clutch in the kit anyway. Right, now we need to clean it all up. Check the flywheel itself, you can see the blue spots on it as well. I mean, I've had them before like that, and you can still use them. I mean, if you take it to the bigger places like you know.
Don't mention the names.
Yeah, we're not going to mention the names, but they'll tell you to replace, or you've got to replace it because it's bluey color. But in my experience, it doesn't really matter this bluey color. I fitted them back and it was never a problem. So
saving bit money from
saving the money because it's unnecessary. You're always going to slip clutch a bit, otherwise you can't really drive. Whole point, like when you're biting point, it always slips regardless, so it's always going to be a bit of a blue. Even after a year there'll be a slightly blue tinge on it, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. If it's got cracks on it, then yeah. If it's got a deep cracks or grooves, really deep grooves or cuts, then yeah, you can't even resurface them, but then it's easy to replace it obviously, but there's no need for this one. I just need to clean it, normal brake cleaners, bit of a tissue, and that's it. Let's get some cleaners.
clean that dust properly, or
Yeah, more or less, yeah. I like to keep it clean, so at least new clutch will have a half a chance to bed in properly. You don't want all dust in there. Take it out, might as well spend extra 5 minutes to clean it. Good enough.
Japanese make.
Yeah, well, Japanese Korean blueprint is a OE part basically. Comes with a little sachet of grease. All the plates all wrapped individual plastic. What a waste of plastic to me, but anyhow. Obviously the new ones always going to come with a thin coat of grease on top of it, just prevent the corrosion. So you must wash it off, otherwise your clutch will be slipping from day one, or a minute one rather.
Gloves.
Yeah, don't wash it with water, it has to be washed with brake cleaners. You can buy them in the spray cans, or 5 litre or 20 litre, or whatever quantity you want to buy them. Change of gloves and all the new clutch with the greasy dirty fingers. Obviously that clutch comes, you can only fit one way, and on them it's actually written TM side, which is transmission side. Sometimes they'll have a Dapetz, which is like a gearbox side, but that's mainly
What is that word?
Dapetz, but it's not for the German cars. Yeah, mainly. But
make sure that side going to the gearbox side.
And sometimes you will have a F wheel side, which is a flywheel side. There will be always some sort of writing on it which way around it goes, and it's a paramount you fit them right way around. I mean, on this one it's more like common sense. You only can go this way because this way will just stick out too far. But on some cars they stick out on both sides more or less equally, and they look, if you look at them, they would fit both ways. So you've got to follow the instructions on it. If you fit it wrong way around, you won't get pedal. I know that for a fact because we had that incident on the transit. One of the technicians fitted it and he tried to bleed the clutch, and he was there for hours trying to bleed it, and it just would not have, just couldn't have it. And I suggested to him to remove the gearbox back out.
Have a look what happened inside.
Yeah, so he took it out, and lo and behold, the clutch pressure, the friction plate was fitted the wrong way around. Put it right
Ending
way
with
around.
the new parts?
Sorry?
Ending with the new parts? Oh.
No, it was alright. Yeah, he was just not biting it properly. He wouldn't release it properly. So in the end, put it the right way around, and it works straight away perfectly. So you've got to be careful.
If it not, as a simple, follow the old clutch.
Pretty much, yeah. Just have a look at the old one. But sometimes when you take the old clutch out, it falls on the floor and all the bits fall apart. So, but this one, yeah, obviously the old clutch is still this way. As it happens, the This one is probably made by Blueprint also. I don't know. No, Seco. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it does have a Hyundai and
Same the
Kia.
thingy
Yeah,
here.
yeah, they look all the same. Either way, it's a correct clutch. It looks right. Right. Well, there's different types of clutch aligning tools available, but I like this one's the best. It comes with 3 separate ends. You can have different sizes, smaller, medium and large. This is a medium size, and yeah, they pretty much fit virtually any clutch. Not every clutch, but most of them. But we'll put the link below where you can get it. You literally fit it in a hole, more or less line up at the back, screw the outer nut in so it actually spreads them leaves apart. You see, this spreads leaves apart and basically locks it. It can't come out. And now the lower ring, the big ring, you screw it down and it centralizes it. And you literally centralize it by, well, I'm looking at all the edges, make sure they're all exactly the same. And when you're satisfied, just give them a bit of another twist. And now it's solid. It's centralized and it's not going anywhere. All you need to do is just put it back on the motor.
You most time going by the feeling, no?
Yeah. Because I know if I can see this bolt, that means there would be one exactly opposite. Generally, they always have 6 bolts, or sometimes they have 9, but they have like one in the middle as well. It depends on the vehicle as well, obviously. And this one is only 6, like pretty much most of the cars anyway. You've got to be careful. You have to be wrong socket. You need to go easy on a bit at a time, each bolt. You can't do that all in one hit, otherwise you'll destroy the clutch. Use the ratchet normally,
but you are okay with the gun?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a control over it, you know.
Crisscross pattern.
Pretty much, yeah. And you just gently pull them in. You know, when take that out anyway because it's already locked in. You can see when the leaves you can see the leaves are moving in one at a time, sort of a thing. And when they're all in, it's pretty much all touching it. It's all pretty much bang on where it's supposed to be. Just go around. Final time. That's it. Yeah.
But you advised if you're not sure the gun.
Yeah.
You advise to do the.
Yeah, use a ratchet. You've got to support the flywheel, obviously. You have to. What I normally do, put the bolt in and put some sort of a pry bar along so it stops the flywheel from turning, and use the torque wrench to do each bolt as it should be to correct torque. Right, now we need to install the bearing. Wash this a bit. Now I've got a little packet, and inside that packet another packet
to the grease.
Yeah, it's basically a very tacky grease, so it doesn't flake off when it spins. So you need a tiny little bit on the splines. You can't put too much. otherwise it goes into the clutch. A little bit more here because this bit stays stationary. That's why your bearing goes around.
Up and down.
I mean in and out rather. A bit of grease on this lever. So, bit there. Squeeze every drop of it. Bit there. Bit there.
Moving points.
Yeah, because it's actually metal on metal.
Mm.
So if you put a little bit of grease on there, it'll give it half a chance to stay a bit functional for a lot longer.
Yeah, when you hold it.
No worries. And it clicks. That's it. That's it. That spring literally just clips in, and that's it. Now you can feel it in and out, and it's not coming off. So that's pretty much what it does. And now we're ready to install the gearbox back in its cage. Make sure that's in neutral. Means that this shaft can go up and down. If it's in gear, it just doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. Because when it's in neutral, that means that that shaft can move freely. If it's in gear, shaft can move, but really tight. It's because I have to rotate all the gears at the moment. It's like in just free spinning. So when you put it on, if it doesn't quite line up, it will turn itself just to line up with the clutch splines. Right. Pretty much the heaviest part of the job. Line up more or less to where it's supposed to be. What I normally do, roll it, put it on its body, put it like that, put my knee underneath or side of the knee and roll onto the knee, and then use the knee to lift it up. And then reposition a bit. And that's when you need to wiggle and fiddle until it fits. And that's it. It just clips in. And you know when it's in because it clips and it holds. But then that long bolt, that's where it came from, this hole above here. So I'm gonna pop that bolt straight away in first. Obviously it's still going to be wobbly until one of the bolts is done up. Let's do it up slightly. Yeah, don't try to force it on. If it doesn't go on, that means there's something not right. But when it's like that, it actually clips in, straight in. But if it doesn't, if you're doing it up and it's pulling from the other side, that means that your clutch
not centralized.
It's not centralized. You have to take it all apart again and re-centralize the clutch. But when it's all central, it just goes and it clips in, and it's such a satisfying feeling because that sound like when it goes donk, and it means it's homed. I like to put all the bell housing bolts in. Sometimes there is something not right, the bolts won't go in. They physically just will not go in. There's just something not quite there. You feel it like that really tight. But when you finger tie straight in, everything in, then it says everything is fine. Well, the top one's in, but more or less in. So what I could do now is hang the gearbox back, basically putting this mount back on, jack the engine back up. But this one you have to do it gently, because sometimes when the engine drops down a bit, it starts catching on things. So sometimes you have to wiggle it sometimes, make sure it's, or if it goes tight all of a sudden, you need to
Leave it
assess,
and have a look around.
have a look, assess the situation, because sometimes it can catch on the subframe, can catch on something else, and or some wire got trapped somewhere. Just keep looking, make sure it's, don't rush this bit, because if you do, you'll have to redo it all again. Bolts, then don't line up, keep wiggling it until they do. Don't just try to force them in, you will cross thread it, and that cross threading goes straight into the gearbox, and if the gearbox is cross threaded, not very good news. Might end up having to replace
And with the
and that was a
unexpected fortune.
big problem. Yeah, see, when they're at least, like, you know, a couple of threads in, you can feel that they're going in. Now they're in. This gearbox is hanging. We can get rid of a jack so we can actually get to the back of the gearbox to put the bolts in.
Oh.
5 bolts at the back are done. I can put the engine mount back on, gearbox mount back on now. That's that one. So now everything's secure here, and that can go back in. Oil level sensor. Yeah, 17 mil. That is correct.
That's
that
the
is
one,
the filler. I'll put it in loosely. The bracket I've undone, so it's easier to do it obviously from the underneath. But I'm gonna put this the rest of the bell housing bolts in first. I like doing them first because then I know that's done, and then I put all the other auxiliaries on later. Again, just wiggle the starter motor until the bolts actually go in properly. Obviously I've wiggled it in, otherwise normally I would do the top bolt first and then finish off with the bottom and then top again, but because it's in properly, it helps to turn it round.
That for the starter motor top.
And that's 2 bolts on bell housing bolts on the top. The last one I can do with a little gun.
Combination gun and ratchet.
Yeah, where we can get to. Wherever makes it quicker. Alright, that's that in. So that's all the bell housing bolts in. So let's put the little bracket and the slave cylinder back on now, and the earth strap, because I can do it all from underneath. So they're my bolts for the little bracket, the clutch, slave cylinder. And that's actually was part of it bolts into the engine rather than the gearbox, but it's still out of the way. It's easier to do it. It's out of the way, so it wouldn't be a disaster if we wouldn't remove it. Now that needs to go into the first, and then you have to push towards the passenger side to line up the bolt holes. Both bolts in.
It's holding with the 2 bolts, no?
Yeah, just 2
14.
12mm bolts.
12.
As I say, like, you know, when we're undoing it, it's easier to get from underneath, but I was there at the top and I could reach to them, so it makes not really much difference. With them bolts, you have to be careful as well. You don't want to cross thread them or
Over tight.
or over tighten it too much, because if that's the thing that holds your clutch slave cylinder on, if that snaps, then your clutch won't work. Very simple. Now we've got one bracket here that wire can be pushed in,
and there is another bolt underneath there, no?
It's supposed to be one bolt in there still, but it's upstairs, up at the top, so let's put the earth back on first. See, that's a very small bolt, so you don't want to put too much pressure with that either.
Even if you forget this one, car will not start.
Yeah, it'll be click, click, click.
That's it.
Like a flat battery, basically, because you will still get ignition lights and everything else lights, but the car will just click, click like your starter motor is gone. But because that's the main power supply to your bell housing for starting of the car. Little 12mm bolt. Right, okay. Well, next thing I think I might do is pop the drive shaft back in. Now I'll put the drive shafts in so I can finish underneath and top up with oil before I put too much stuff at the top. It's easier to get to the filler neck with a lot of stuff disconnected at the top, obviously. Obviously, when you put the drive shafts down, don't dump them in the mud or something like that, so you don't get anything stuck to this, because that actually goes inside the gearbox and floats in the oil, so that needs to be kept clean. So is this one. On this one, ideally you need to put some grease, you know, so I mean, it's
OWD-40.
Well, it's probably better to just put a little bit of a grease.
Next time it's easy.
Yeah, it starts corrode things and that can seize in. And if you do them sort of jobs now, we'll have one happy customer when it comes to do the job next time. It clicked in, that means it's in. Right. That's it.
Ball joint in.
Well, that can be moved back now. Right, 3 bolts, 3 nuts rather. Trusty gun. Now I've got them lugs. Chisel and hammer. It's basically stop the nut from coming undone. You don't want to be having drive shaft coming undone while you're driving, that's for sure. Because this wheel was a bit stuck on, a little bit of grease on top of it, so the next time you want to take the wheel off, it's going to actually come off. Well, that's one drive shaft in. Do the same on the other side now. That's it, clicks in. Put some grease on the splines here.
Applying grease.
Now don't overdo it here.
Oh?
Don't overdo on the grease up here. Don't want to go, especially don't use the copper grease because that can go into the ABS and
Block the signal.
don't like the ABS, don't like copper grease. Because on this side we haven't got any under shields or anything, so I can actually put the wheel on this side. We can put that gear wheel back in through that hole that we undone earlier. There's a transmission or any fluid really refill. It's available. We'll put the link in the description where you can get one of them as well. Right, let's put that in the hole. Let's put that in the hole. That's done up. That's the gear oil in. The next step, so we're pretty much done underneath with all the different things. So now let's put the rest of the things at the top. Start by putting the gear cable. Just looking if this makes a difference which way around the cable goes or not. Looks like on this one it does.
The side down.
Yeah, so this one is the one that's facing the clip. This is facing the body of it. That way. In that way. Yeah, pop all three in. Again, if you put one in and tighten it, and all of a sudden the other two won't line up. So you need to make sure they're all three in, and then you can do them up. Clip, literally just pushing the hole, done. There's that one.
That's a reverse.
That's reverse sensor, same thing, just click. Now let's put this bracket back on. It's handy to have ratchet spanners. That's that in. That can go in as well now. There you go. And now we've got bracket at the back as well. That's all the brackets are gone now. All the nuts and bolts are gone. That's that out. Done. Now we can put the airbox back on. Airbox, you've got two push-in clips and one bolt, 10mm bolt. A bit of what I normally do, put a bit of a tissue around the bolt, wedge it into the socket, and now I've got a bolt attached to the socket so I can actually go deep without losing it. And that's it. That airbox back on. You can use all sorts of different hose clamp grips. This way just under my foot, so, or arm rub. Because they're not really got that much tension on them, so anything will do, any pliers will do really. Hose clamps.
For the throttle?
Well, there it goes, yeah, it's throttle body there. That's the air filter box. That's in. That's in. Yeah, when you put them in, make sure all 4 leads go in. If one of them will be sticking out like that, it just won't go in. And now they're in, and it's like it's never been apart. Because everything is actually physically done in the car. We've done all the brackets, all the bolts, nuts, bell housing bolts. The only thing we're not done is put the wheels back on and drop, well, an undershield. But I won't put the undershield on until we've done our next job, which is the disc and pads all around, because we might have a brake fluid spillage, so I don't want that spilling into the under tray. So I'll put the under tray after we've done the disc and pads. So, but I can still check the clutch, make sure it's all working now fine without, yeah, the pedal feels good. Pedal feels very good actually.
And only on Radio Active's Bank Holiday weekend, we are giving you the chance to get a pair of tickets to these sold out shows. Plus, if you still need further convincing that you need to see them in the flesh, Sunday 6 PM, we'll be replaying an hour of the band live.
It feels good, it goes into gear nicely. I mean, I'll check it properly later, but I don't really want to climb into the car with no seat covers on, making it all dirty. So once it's on the floor, I'll check it properly again. After we've done the disc and pads, we'll come back and take it for a test drive and make sure it's all good. So, but otherwise, I'll speak to you later.
Thanks for watching.